Mic check, 1, 2, 3. The music is just starting to kind of up tempo and get louder, so you should be able to hear it soon. Atlam, will you let me know when you see the Steam feed come through? Welcome back, one and all. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. Today's stream is called Mapmaker Monday. It is a live map making stream where you can watch Dungeon Alchemist maps built in real time, which is a very valuable tool for those of you who may be new to Dungeon Alchemist and want to learn. Think of this as like a live course where you can ask questions in AMA format and learn about Dungeon Alchemist as we build a massive ancient cemetery during the stream. The cemetery has been a long time project, and I only get about a half hour a week on it because I only work on it on Mapmaker Monday. And as you can see here, it's rather extensive. Rev, how you doing? Welcome back. Kim, I see you lurking. How you doing? So the cemetery is quite vast, has hundreds, if not more, graves. It's quite a bit of graves. And we've been extending all the way down to this edge here, which is going to be almost the last of the sardine can. Some more graves here, park here, terraced kind of mausoleum family plots with far less graves on them. So it should hopefully be easier to deal with. Getting snacks? Nice. What kind of snacks you getting? Steam stream is up for you? Okay, I'm going to refresh. There it is. Thank you so much, Atlam. I appreciate you. I was a little worried about that because it wasn't popping up. Snacks. Donuts. Rev, how was your weekend? In fact, how was everyone's weekend? Would love to hear about your weekends. Did you get any gameplay in, session prep, map making, RL fun? Did you do anything interesting in the real world? Let's chat about it. I got to play D&D yesterday, and it was pretty interesting. Got to level up, so that's good. You know, Law of the Jungle, that's an interesting concept. You know, doing some irrigation. Unfortunately, no, I didn't, but I do have kind of a contingency for that. This area here is the property of the caretaker, who is essentially a bit of a green thumb druid who loves plants, loves nature, and can help facilitate it all across the entire, you know, vast facility. So he waters the plants and nurtures them using his powers. And there are, you know, fountains and other things around the property to help facilitate. It's actually more of a cottage, to be honest. He is a little bit fancy. But he does have a greenhouse over here that has, like, all sorts of rare plants. Hey, why is that missing? Interesting. What happened? Um, rare like flora and fauna from all over like the different realms. I like to think he loves his work, so he really never works a day in his life. Anyway, getting back to the build, we're going to be putting in pretty solid amount of graves today. I'm going to run the graves down close to this edge, and then we'll be filling in this way and probably leave a section that's empty and kind of rough and kind of raised, like it hasn't been leveled out yet. The point of this section, oh, I just noticed my camera a little bit off. My bad. The point of this section is to leave area for future graves, as you know, they need room for future expansion. Was good. Took Friday off from 9 to 5 to finish up my last Halloween map release. Hope you like it, Chim. And then did errands all day. Spent the rest of the weekend just relaxing, getting ready to officiate a wedding. This dang, dude, you've been busy. Pork grinds, bit of soda, chips, leftover game day food since my group is doing bi-weekly. Nice. That's cool. Cool, Chim. Yeah, Atlam, how was your weekend? Let's hear about it. So, I got some D&D in yesterday. Our group meets once a month, so kind of a bummer that we can only meet that often, but in the sense that you know, we make the most of it. So we definitely enjoy ourselves and have a lot of fun. We have a couple wild cards in the group that like to do like random shenanigans that kind of throw us off kilter. So we started this encounter by we essentially were deep in these this dungeon called Carthax Hollow, and we had met what we feel was like the second to last boss. It was this vampire who works for Carthax and is kind of his minion or right hand. And he realized that if we fought, he would die because we've beaten everything in the dungeon up to that point, which is indicative that we probably could kill him, and it would be an inconvenience for him. But you know, because he's a vampire, unless we figure out a way to kill him forever. So we essentially kind of negotiated with him, where he had the key to get in the next area, and also if he introduced us to his master, who was Carthax, he wouldn't be as hostile when we approached. So we heard him out. I was skeptical of him because he's sketchy. He's a vampire that like is very, very charismatic and is trying to like turn our team against each other. And like, I don't know, at almost any given point, he was saying something that just basically put me on edge. Like one point he was just saying he's lucky he didn't just eat a fairy because the fairy in our party looks delicious. And like all this other stuff that was like really creepy and on edge. We basically negotiated with this vampire to move forward in this dungeon. And he introduced us to his master, who basically was impressed that we had cleared like all of his minions up to this point and wanted to learn more about us. He he was a mind flayer. So we essentially were kind of like, you know, kind of on edge, trying to decide if we should fight this guy. And he offered us a proposal. He said, there is a tomb to our left. If we clear the dead illithid in there for him as a favor, it would give us an access to the room above, which is where we sought a certain item. And he said if we could clear these two fights, he would give us the item and we could leave free and clear. No contest. So this illithid read our minds and was really creepy, and he was surrounded by intellect devourers, so we kind of were like on edge. Like 6 intellect devourers and an illithid just sitting there. We're like, okay, we'll fight, what you have in mind. So it was like I don't know what it was. I think they're a new kind of thing. It was like an undead illithid. I can't remember the name of it, but we fought this guy and we like opened the tomb and essentially just unleashed on this guy. And I got a really good spray of cards off right off the bat, which blinded him until the end of his next turn, which was a long time based on the turn order. So we all had advantage on him and he had disadvantage on us. And we shredded him in like a round and a half. After he was taken out, we essentially were in a good position to move on. Everyone kind of healed up and recuperated anyway. We regrouped, and then the illithid there, Carthax, he was like very impressed. He's like, okay, let's see what you can do in the next room. And we realized the door was covered in a trap, which inside the tomb of the dude we just killed was an item. It was like a crystal. And that crystal had a spell contained in it, which would disable that trap. So we essentially, I investigated the tomb, found the crystal, discovered its use, looked and at the door, found the trap, which would have killed one of our teammates for sure. And we essentially were able to circumvent that trap with the item we just gained. Inside that room was a like shadow drake. And this is basically the first dragon we've encountered in our entire year campaign so far. Phasmophobia. Dang, I didn't know you played Phas. I used to play that quite a bit. But oh my goodness, my heart can't take it. As the game became more elaborate, it became more terrifying. Which I think was the point. It sounds like a good weekend, Atlam. So we immediately have to turn and fight this Drake, which, pretty intimidating. And before we open this room, I told everyone probably not a good idea to go inside the room for now if we can avoid it. And one of our teammates who is kind of like low int loves to play the derpy guy that just kind of does things impulsively. So he went into the room. The room is just full of darkness. So magical darkness, so he can't see. Only one person in our party can see through this because they have Devil's Sight. And so basically, we are all just kind of flying blind at this point. Anyway, this illithid is watching us. He says if any of us harm any of his defenders or him, he'll start fighting. So we're like trying to keep the damage away from him, and just in case it gets that far, we're keeping it contained to that room. This dragon's spitting out these like attacks that put darkness, magical darkness all over the place where you can't see, but at the same time, if you sit in the cloud too long, it damages you. It was kind of a pickle, we were like, essentially just trying to strategize about how to hit this thing without being able to see it, which gave us disadvantage on direct attacks. So me thinking unconventionally, I'm just thinking I know the general area it's at, and I have fireball. So I just kept dropping fireballs on it, which were helping. They were damaging it. I had one for like 31 damage and one for like 28. Pretty good damage with some fireballs, considering I can only L3 cast it at the moment. let's see what else happened. Oh, our fairy again used hypno pattern, which is such a clutch move in these cases. Which the dragon became hypnotized, and we waited until the like darkness faded, and we could see, and then we all unleashed a huge attack flurry on it, and it was down to like 5 hit points at this point. And it cast darkness again and ran out to us and was like in the room with us where we were by the illithid. And so all of us were like, kill it. And everyone just kind of targeted it with disadvantage to try and hit it. And luckily our cleric destroyed it. So essentially we had 2 little mini boss fights against like it was an Alhoon and a dark or like a shadow drake. After the fights, we recovered some parts from the Shadow Drake and like some scales and some jaws and little things like that. Just parts, body parts, so to speak. And there was a chest in the room by the illithid, but we thought it would be bad to loot it while he could see us and read our minds. So we basically just opted to move on. He let us grab our quarry, which was this book called The Black Sigil, and we were able to leave without fighting him anymore. So at this point, we went back to our bastion and we identified the Black Sigil and started studying it, and then started making plans for future play. Session was kind of mild, but it was our milestone, so we leveled up after finishing that. I would say not as dangerous as the previous sessions, but because we had passed everything before us and used our, negotiation skills, we were able to move forward without fighting like the big vampire dude and also the mind flayer. Wandu, how you doing, my friend? There were some other shenanigans that happened. So like when we started talking to the vampire, like we opened his room and he's like, hello, being all charismatic. And he basically convinced our fighter to go in and hang out with him and sit by him with his charm alone. No spells, just charm. Because our fighter just loves, getting into shenanigans. He's part rogue, if that makes sense at all. So it actually does add up. You got to dip into rogue so it makes him, unpredictable, so to speak. But exactly, it always equates to shenanigans. But anyway, he's like, hey guys, I think this guy's really cool and really trustworthy. We should listen to him. And I'm like, oh my God. And all of us are getting insight checks saying to the contrary, just don't trust this guy. He's like, hey, come sit on the couch next to me. This is called Dungeon Alchemist. It's a map making tool available on Steam. My name is Mac. I'm the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. So it's our official channel here. If you have any questions related to the tool, feel free to ask. And we do, like I said, have a free demo on Steam to try out, which, it gives you access to at least one of our biomes and the tavern room type. So you could build a tavern in a forest. Just keep in mind, though, the full version of Dungeon Alchemist has hundreds of room types, a dozen biomes, and access to the Steam Workshop, which has a repository of over 12,900 maps now. Wow, that's impressive. And also backing that up is a repository of 11,178 assets. So it essentially allows you to build maps of all shapes and sizes. We don't necessarily have a regional or a world map tool, but many people still are able to build massive maps. Like this one here is a huge cemetery that I'm working on. It goes on and on and on, but it is 85 by 82 squares. So those are 5-foot squares for D&D. It's pretty big for a D&D map. That being said, here, let me save this really quickly. You remember that Steam Workshop I mentioned? A lot of people will make like regional maps. Like this one here is a regional map. They do it using forced perspective. So they'll kind of scale down trees and objects to make mini villages and mini forests and swamps. And this is just a simple example. This map is even smaller than my map, but because of the way they laid it out and designed it, you see all these roads, a river, pathways, bridges. It feels like a regional map. So it's very possible to do. You just use a little bit of trickery with the camera. Many of our objects can be scaled up and down. So you can scale, trees down to make a mini forest, which is actually meant to be a large forest. We have objects that are like houses, both stock objects in our object set and objects on the workshop that you can just download. That here, let me show you. These here, you can make a quick little tiny village out of it to make like a town or a city to represent a place on a map or a world map. These are prefab houses that are just easy to place, and you can size them up and down to make them tiny or massive. Does that make sense at all, Biscuit? I hope that's kind of sorry, it's kind of a little bit to wrap your head around it first. The Dungeon Alchemist's primary purpose is for local maps, for villages, battle maps, even area maps that are like massive, like this cemetery or villages, cities. But if you use forced perspective, you can definitely make it far larger. Do you use like a hex grid, or do you use like a square grid when you're mapping out your areas? That's actually really cool, Mondu, that you do that with Thieves' Cant. I'm sure it makes your rogue player feel a lot more involved. So you use Tailspire. Cool. Okay, so you kind of are familiar with the 3D mapping tool. So Dungeon Alchemist isn't really a virtual tabletop like Tailspire is, but it's a map making and immersion tool that also has camera options, both in cinematic, which are like a drone camera, or first person cameras through tokens. And it allows you to take amazing screenshots and video of your maps at various angles. So like right now I'm in the drone camera. I could find a fun shot of the cemetery, take a picture, give it to my players as a handout. Or alternatively, I could record a scene of me flying over this area and give that to my player who maybe has a familiar who they like to use to scout areas before they go to them. It's like a quick little flyby that you can give them a handout for. Field of view experience tool, but first and foremost, a map making and immersion tool. So you build maps with this tool, and then you export them for your play style of choice. Do you play in person with, you said you use primarily Theater of the Mind, right? World of the Mind. You could, in fact, use printed maps in tandem if you play in person, or like a TV tabletop or projector tabletop with Dungeon Alchemist maps. Alternatively, if you play online through like a virtual tabletop, our maps export to pretty much all major VTTs. and even work with pretty much all VTTs that support JPEG, MP4, or WebM formats at the moment. Online over Discord, cool. So you could share like screenshots or video. Heck, you could even stream real-time walkthroughs while you walk through and say first person to share with your players. You could prop a token in and then go into the eyes of your token. Oh, my token's a little size. You get the idea. Essentially, that would be a perfect use case for Dungeon Alchemist as well. You know, giving your players imagery, handouts, you know, of puzzles or certain perspectives that may be harder for them to visualize or harder for you to describe. If you don't use a virtual tabletop, that's essentially how it would be, kind of similarly to how you use Tailspire. The big benefit is we offer, you know, not only our stock asset set, which is like 6,500, almost 7,000 assets, and then also, you know, the workshop integration for maps and assets to expand your library into completely, you know, new regions. Like there's over 1,000 sci-fi assets on the workshop. I know you do Victorian, but I was just kind of pointing out. And additionally, yeah, you mentioned gridded or, you know, kind of feels less structured. You can add a grid to Dungeon Alchemist, or you can build without it. So essentially, it's much less restrictive. Let's just say that. I think a lot of people love our tool because it allows them to build maps more freely. Especially once you get the hang of it. Eric, how you doing, bud? Hey, you can find the Steam page through our profile, which leads to our website. From there, it links to our Steam and a couple other places. Really appreciate you dropping by the stream. If you have any other questions, feel free to drop by and ask. These streams, we host them several times a week. They're hosted AMA format, which means ask me anything. So if you end up getting on the demo and you're, you know, wondering how to do something, or if you end up getting the full version and you want to learn more, drop in anytime. Great to meet you, Biscuit Bat. Rotated it the wrong way. Oh, I did. The right way. To build a pathway. By the way, Biscuit, if you'd like to see some other maps, I can show you some. This is just one I'm working on today. On our workshop, like I said, there are thousands of maps. Castles, arenas. You can even share your own maps there. So if you feel like sharing, you can. But there's taverns, dungeons, sewers, cities, pretty much endless amounts of maps. These are just the ones I've shared, but if you look, like I said, over almost 13,000 maps and counting. Oh, wow. Citizen Snips just joined the stream. Citizen Snips! Big Futurama fan. Love that name. Oh, they left. Psh. The clamps and clamp-like device. Your name's Francis? Bada bing, bada clamp. Francis Clampazzo. Good character. There we go. Looks good enough. It is acceptable. I love a lot of the tertiary characters in Futurama. There's always so many random characters that leave such an impact. You know what I mean? Twitch, how's the feed looking today? By the way, we're multi-streaming on like 6 different platforms right now. Twitch, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Steam. The last stream had some technical difficulties, but I think it was Twitch related. Nothing I had any control over. But it's good to know that it's looking good today. Thank you so much for clarifying there. Could be the black shirt making the contrast weird. Here, let me play with that, actually. Thank you for pointing it out. I do look a little pale. Look like I'm on my deathbed. Fix that. There, let's add some color to those cheeks. Excuse me. My white balance was turned way up. So I was basically a ghost. So, now that I've leveled up, I have access to a level 4 spell slot, but not level 4 spells because I'm multi-classing. But that at least gives me an extra level spell, or I can upcast a fireball or something else. I also get to learn 2 new spells. So I would love to hear feedback on what y'all think I should take as a spell, because I can take 2 new level 3 or level 3 and a level 2 spell, whatever. My current spell list is quite extensive for a level 6/1 wizard artificer. Because anytime I can, I spend time looking for scrolls and learning spells. Especially ritual spells. Goodness. Starting to wonder if I got any new, like, cool stuff with my level. Probably not. So because I'm a level 6 wizard, 1 artificer, so I'm level 7, but I have a dip. I have levels 4 slots, but I don't have any level 4 spells yet. So I can upcast anything to it, like a magic missile or a fireball or whatever, to level 4, but I cannot do anything yet. Ooh, I just remembered something. Because I'm a div wizard, right? I now get the expert divination feature. So when you cast a divination spell using a level 2+ slot, you regain 1 expended spell slot of a lower level. So that's actually kind of cool. I may want to take a spell that has divination with it so I can grab some extra oomph. Like recover spell slots with a divination spell when I can. It is kind of a weaker class feature. Oh, also from now on, I can like learn divination spells. Oh, I guess I could do that too. Wait, am I looking at 2024 rules? What am I looking at? Okay, what Diviner Savant? Is that new? I'm not sure what that is. I'm so confused. I'm reading about it and it looks so new. Oh, yep, I'm definitely looking in the 2024 book. That's something I've never seen before. Map. And we're playing 2024 rules, so or no, 2014 rules. The only exception is Bastions. It's like looking at the art, I'm like, I don't recognize any of this stuff. Ah. Dang, that's yeah, it's not bad to have tongues for, you know, and get another spell slot back. Tongues is useful sometimes. Like our warlock or sorlock has Helm of Comprehend Languages, but that only gets us so far, right? Just 2014 PHB. And of course, you know, the expansions for it. Kashas and whatever. Xanathars. All that fun stuff. So does anyone have any Dungeon Alchemist related questions while we're live? Would love to answer your inquiries. Remember, these streams are AMA format. Means ask me anything. So if you have any support, suggestions, or support needs, suggestions, feedback, or just have questions in general related to Dungeon Alchemist, let me know. It does give you extra spells overall to your wizard list, but no divination spells, sadly. I know my DM has a lot of the different books, though, so there may be some that give me other spells. Like Deck of Many Things or whatever. The divination list is pretty light. The main reason I picked divination is because portent. Though I think at my next subclass, I may switch to an order of scribes. Portents become really trivial in my game as of late because my party rolls and never gives me a chance to portent. Like I'll be like begging them to let me help them sometimes, and then they roll. So yeah, the 2024 divination rules look interesting by comparison. Sadly, we are not playing them. But I'm not too stressed about it. Alrighty. Pro done. Bad and Graves. Well, Chim, that's good to hear. I'm glad you're having fun with it. Can't wait to see what you build. Oh my goodness. I just want one open grave. Oh my gosh, I passed it. No, I'm just going to delete the top. Easier to delete the top than wait for it to cycle on it. Getting a little hungry. Kind of want snack, but I'm going to wait until after stream because I don't want to be munching in the mic. That's just rude. Ah, that tool will be very, very helpful. How about yourself, Mondu? How much are you looking? For those of you wondering what we're talking about, if you'd like, I could share some video of it. Yeah. So watch this video carefully. First off, you see this new icon up here in the top left, the eyedropper tool. Darn it, I think I got bit by a mosquito yesterday. There's so many mosquitoes in Vegas now, and they're tiny. They're like microscopic. It's like an invasion of baby mosquitoes. Anyway, this little tool here allows you to essentially, unlike a dropper tool and like an art tool where it picks the color of whatever you're selecting, this eyedropper tool, when you select an object, it points out where the object is in the object menu. So watch. Notice when he selects this object, it shows it in the menu. Exactly where it is. So you don't have to hunt down that particular object or type in its name to find it. If that makes any sense. Another thing about this tool is it allows you to quickly just copy the object and its properties without having to copy and paste the properties. Alex P, this program is called Dungeon Alchemist after the channel's name. It's a map making and immersion tool available on Steam that allows you to build maps for your D&D, Pathfinder, primarily fantasy-based, tabletop campaigns. But now that we have asset importing and the Steam Workshop integration where you can share assets, people now make like sci-fi, cyberpunk, post-apocalyptic, Victorian, Walking Dead. I've seen Fallout, all sorts of stuff made with Dungeon Alchemist now. It's essentially just a very enhanced map making tool that allows you to take pictures and video of the maps or export them for your virtual tabletop of choice, or even print the maps or use them on a TV or projector tabletop. Essentially a very well-rounded game making or tabletop gaming or map making tool. By the way, welcome to the stream. Hope you're having a wonderful day. If you have any other questions related to Dungeon Alchemist, feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. I'm making a massive cemetery at the moment. This has been quite an undertaking. Let me zoom out just to show you. Keeps going, I'm going. I started in this corner some time ago, and it's just been expanding past that for a while now. Various cemetery plots, a cathedral, beautiful gardens, some graves, mausoleums or fancy, royal plots, a caretaker's property, and we're still going. We got quite a bit of room left. This area here we've kind of called the sardine can, as it's lots and lots of graves packed in really tight. These would be, your pauper graves, your people who maybe couldn't afford like a proper burial. There's some vertical graves, some columbariums, dirt graves, and then moving on into the more modern area of the cemetery where they've been adding graves as of recently, getting more into stonework as it becomes more regular. But yeah, Alex, if you have any questions related to the program, let me know. What I'm here for. The junk. The one I wanted to get rid of. I kind of use the rails as a guide to keep it somewhat straight. Saved in save this hot minute. Would y'all like to see a smaller map with maybe like a castle on it or something interesting? Something different? Ewan the Gamer on Twitch asks, "Hey Mac, I don't think there is, but is there a way to make out like a hand-drawn looking versions of maps to use as a handout?" So unfortunately, there isn't like a filter or an option within Dungeon Alchemist to make like a hand-drawn map. What I would recommend is you could take the map, right? Once you've exported it, and put it in like Paint or Photoshop and do a quick little hand-drawn sketch over it for a rough like outline if you want like a basic map. Alternatively, some people will do things like using the existing map and running it through a filter. There's blueprint filters, so if you have a blank version of your floor plan, you could run it through like a blueprint filter to make it look like your players have recovered blueprints to use for like a heist or whatever they may need them for, or attacking someone strategically, whatever. That being said, hand-drawn stuff would be likely post-processing, running it through like a photo editor that makes it look hand-drawn or drawing it over it by hand. Ugh. My cat was keeping me up all night, climbing all over me, just wouldn't leave me alone. One of those nights, I was frustrated but patient because he's a good kitty. I think there's something was bothering him, like he was scared. Something outside was loud or irritating him. I don't know. Yeah, that's what I said. Basically, you could, export the map as an image or print it and then trace over it old school, either by hand or through a map program or like an art program like Paint. Either or. I do like the hand tracing option of a printed map though, that you print out your digital map and then hand trace over it with like a piece of paper, so it's just like you're like, yeah, this is the map we have of this place. Wait, this is the only map we have? Yeah. It's sketched from memory by someone who's never really sketched anything. I don't want to add something to this area. like some or not benches, but like some hedges. These up here to like fill random gaps. Break them down a little bit like this. Trees and flowers is a good suggestion too. Could put some trees on the end ones here, but then it covers a lot of the path. That's a good suggestion there, Mundu. By the way, welcome back, Ewan. How you doing today? Trees. Let's go look at the plants. See how much that covers? So big. Oh yeah, I remember you. If I do 2 trees like this, Artful Darkness, then that whole path is covered. Not the end of the world, though. Like, I could shrink it down a little bit, make them a little bit smaller. Arbor Arch could work, too. Yeah, Chim, that's a good idea. Here, let's compromise here. Arch. Got some of these, but there's like a green straight up. Yeah, where is that? Is it a door? I think it is. That won't work here. No, I think we'll leave the trees. Hardly any. This whole path, I might add a few more. Need some happy little trees, you know? So you don't really run your game from within Dungeon Alchemist. It is a map making tool, right? You make the maps and then you export them for your playstyle of choice. That you play in person with a TV tabletop, you'd place your own tokens on top. If you print your map, same thing. If you're playing online through like a virtual tabletop, usually virtual tokens are an option. Now we do have a token menu that comes with a bunch of preloaded options to just add like environmental NPCs or, you know, big bads or whatever. Alternatively, you can drop a token in a map. You can resize the token, scale it to your map more appropriately. And you can walk around the map in first person through the click of the icon here, the eyeball icon, which allows you to walk through the map in first person and kind of get an idea of what it looks like from a player's perspective. This map is quite large, so it might take a moment to that mode. Probably should have saved before. Well, maybe. Look at this. It's taking its time. It's a big map. Give it a moment. The bigger the map, usually the longer it takes to load into the camera modes if you haven't saved in a while, which I haven't in a hot minute. Right? Jim, stretching is always good. Oh, of course, the moment I start stretching. So here you have a first-person perspective of this graveyard. So mobs, though, overall, I mean, depending on the tokens available, you can import tokens directly from Hero Forge if you have a Hero Forge account and have purchased tokens there as 3D digital. You can download tokens directly from the workshop, which there's almost 1,000 tokens there. Every update, we include a token pack from our partner, Bite the Bullet. And then we've also got some base tokens included across the entire set for you to kind of look at and pick from. For the most part, though, they're like immersion set pieces. But if you get on the workshop, like I said earlier, the workshop is very extensive. You can click the token section, sort by characters, monsters, and NPCs. So close to 1,000 tokens. Some of them, most of them are fantasy or otherwise, but there are some that creep in that might be modern or other aesthetics. Some of them are even animated, so they'll move and do things while they sit there. I like that. Looks good. Wow. These were identical. I've never seen it do two identical ones in a row. Look at that. Pretty much the exact same grave twice. Because there's like over 700 variations or something like that. It's very rare to get two in the row that are the... Interesting. Yeah, basically just two nat 20s or two nat 1s. I'm not sure which it is. It's just really rare either way, you know? Kind of interesting. To say the least. Lacks a certain pizzazz without Bob Ross. I saw that question, Atlam, and I did answer it. I was talking about tokens with them for a bit. Thank you, though. Oh, yeah. I feel bad that I'm not adequate enough. That Mac is just not Mac-adequate enough. Am I not good enough for you, Fenster? The lack of hair, huh? No worries, Atlam. Do you hate bald boys, Fenster? Oh, Wardian. So, you just reminded me of something I did as a player character in character because my character doesn't fully trust the group, right? Because I only met them in prison and they all told me they were there for different reasons, like they all got imprisoned wrongly, but a couple of them act suspicious. One of them took the ledger with all the crimes in it, has kept him to himself from the prison, so no one could really see what everyone else's crimes were. And then, like, some of them do things that my player character is like, oh my gosh, you're gonna get us all killed, right? So he gets irritated sometimes. But basically, sorry, I don't know where I was going with this. Hold on. Let me remember. What is my train of thought doing right now? It went all over the place. What was I talking about? Man, I lost my train of thought. No! No! Streamer brain strikes again! But I can't remember what I was getting at there, Artful. Not just that, like every interaction we have, I get paranoid, right? Well, a couple of them I don't fully trust, but I don't know what I was getting at with that point still. What were we talking about just before that? cross is unbeatable. Cover stones. We did nothing with cover stones. Oh, okay, I remember. My character is prepared for like every eventual inevitability because he's worried that like eventually people in the party will die and he's going to have to pick up slack to carry for them when it happens. Okay, I remember. I remember now. We're looking at graves, we were talking about cover stones, and now I was going in this direction. So essentially on my character's person are here, let me just pull this up really quick. Stand by. I have lots of contingencies. It's not that I don't trust my party. It's that I worry that they may end up dying because they do stupid things. So I have like scrolls of gentle repose ready to go. I literally learned the spell gentle repose because I was worried that eventually my party members would die and I don't have an easy way to revive them. Basically, for me to revive someone in our party, I'd have to use my Cartomancer ability after a long rest to do Revivify. Which is cool because it doesn't cost anything. That's nice. But using, I can only do that once a long rest. So what I was thinking is I have Gentle Repose scrolls prepared just in case party members die and we can't revive them right away. Like, that's how paranoid my character is. Like, I don't know if you're familiar with the Gentle Repose spell. You touch a corpse or other remains for the duration, the target is protected from decay and can't become undead. The spell also effectively ends the time limit on raising the target from the dead, since days spent under the influence of this spell don't count against the time limit of spells such as Raise Dead. So it lasts 10 days. Gentle Repose is a good name for a cemetery. You are correct. Or like a retirement community. Goodness. Have they ever used it, Mondu? If y'all want to hear about more of my character's paranoia and like ultra preparedness, please let me know. I have other things that are even more hilarious. Basically, my character is like, in the eventuality my party members die, I'm going to have to sustain them for several days before I can bring them all back. Or at least the cleric. Gary's still fighting! Yay, Gary! He's innately paranoid, but mainly because he doesn't like to be out of control. Like, he is very lucky, and most of his life things have kind of just landed in his lap and became the way he wanted them to be, just because of it's just like manifested it, really. And recently, after he was imprisoned, he became more paranoid because he wanted a game of gambling, but that got him imprisoned because he won against a duke who was mad that he won against him and used his, his power to imprison him. So essentially, even though he was playing by the rules and doing everything right, he still lost, which irritated my character. And so he didn't want to end up in prison again, right? And ever since prison, he's been reliant on this group of people who he doesn't fully know yet, right? Some of them he's getting to know better than others, and others give him lots of reasons to not fully trust them by the way they act. Doing things that like put the party at a disadvantage or in danger, or act suspicious. So ever since prison, I've been Oh, we're all aligned. That's not the issue. We had a, we all had a session 0 and we're aligned in that regard. But I'm just playing my character the way I think he would play in this situation, which things went outside of his control, landed him in prison, had to break out. Now he's hanging out with people who may be, bad people or may not be. But for the interim, he likes to kind of follow the thread of life and see where it goes. So it's kind of his two mantras are colliding at the moment. He likes to be prepared for any eventuality and uh not necessarily be in the dark in any situation. I like intel. I like to investigate things for traps. I like to, you know, identify items to make sure they're not cursed if I can. That's the kind of character my character is, right? But then we have people who in our party are very gung-ho. So often they'll like just walk into a room without giving me a chance to check for traps or magical issues, and then, it becomes detrimental. So my person's like, ah! I wouldn't call it Batman so much. Because Batman's also a detective, and I don't really do that so much. I'm not out here, Sherlock Holmesing it. Here, let me tell you some other things my character has on his inventory. So after I broke out of prison, I was paranoid that I would be locked somewhere without the ability to escape easily, right? Or imprisoned and not be able to escape easily. So I made hidden compartments in each of my shoes because I have the ability to use cobbler's tools. So I made a hidden compartment in each shoe. And in one shoe is a set of playing cards, which I can use as a casting focus, and a tiny pouch with 225 GP worth of various gems. Pearls, diamonds, ruby dust, gold dust, all of these things happen to be casting items for specific spells too. So they have a value or could be used for specific spells. Yeah, I think I'm going to get Leomund's tiny chest eventually to hide stuff away, to squirrel it away for like a rainy day. Now, my other shoe, hear me out, thieves' tools and a tiny pouch with coins in it. 9 platinum, 9 GP, and 10 SP. So 100 GP total hiding in that pocket, okay? Or in the pouch, in the shoe. And a spare set of thieves' tools. Can break out of rooms, pick locks, but also thieves' tools are a casting focus for artificers. So now I have casting focuses for both of my, multi-classes, wizard or artificer, and a bunch of money to bribe my way out or pay for things or reset myself if I need to. So each of my shoes is hiding something to help me like reset or like escape. Oh, it's hidden inside the soul. So it's like I carved out a space and I made like a little compartment. So imagine like a Bible with like a hidden compartment in it, but instead it's in the shoe that I can like pull out the side of the heel and pull things out of it, or the back of the heel. Boots have heels. Come on. I wouldn't say platform boots. Hey, that's nice, Wardian. But it's like, you got to wait for him to break you out, which could take ages, right? My mentality is if I can bribe a guard or like, get a jump on someone when I have my magic, I could do a lot of different things and escape. Still has a goblin minion, though. Is that what you're saying, Mondu? Yeah, I basically am Go Gadget, just a little bit go. That's more like it. Go Gadget, more than I am Batman. Here's the thing, I don't have the tragic parent backstory. None of my family is dead. And I'm kind of worried my DM's going to kill off my family at some point. Because, hey, I didn't have a tragic backstory, so it's about time I do. I did the whole happy-go-lucky, my whole family is alive, everyone... Everyone, you know... loved each other, and my parents, my dad and my brother are artificers, and my mom's a great cook, and they, you know, live in a tiny, quaint village, a farming town, like on the edge near the outskirts of a city. My dad runs a shop where he sells like gadgets and gizmos and magic items. Boo! Mac's backstory is boring. Oh my gosh, when we went through all the loot we found, right? Also, when we got back, our Bastion had made some stuff for us, made some money, and made some potions. So we all got some GP and some potions. And then we had a bunch of loot from the dungeon, various items that we weren't interested in that we sold. And we ended up getting about 2,000 GP each. It was like 2,100 GP each after all was said and done. So nice little chunk of change. We have one other item. If we sold it, it would end up being another 2,000 GP each. It's called the Cartomancer's Eyepiece. I kind of want it, but at the same time, I'm already attuned to 3 items, so I don't know. Hey, Guafa, how you doing? Welcome back. Just relaxing, enjoying your Monday, I hope. Isn't there a feat for gaining more attunement slots? Okay, hear me out. Let's talk about this. How many, is there other ways to gain attunement slots in 5e? I'm pretty sure there's a feat for it, but legitimately. Not a homebrew item. I'm pretty sure there is a feat that is in one of the expanded books that gives you an extra attunement slot. Artificers do have the ability, Dill, for sure. As they level up, they get extra attunement slots, for sure. And that's the trade-off they have for not having, you know, magic magic spell slots over L5. Jeez, Guafa, that's insane. Yeah, let's hear it. Keep talking about it. One of my players' families is still alive. Elves in a city that run a weaving mills. However, he enjoyed adventuring and hunting much to the disdain of his family. He went missing, and his sister, who's supposed to inherit the mill, goes down the female line, has run off to try and find him. Same play, 2 games in the same world. They are learning their families are connected. That's cool. Is it a Tal'Dorei thing from Critical Role? Well, a lot of Critical Role stuff is now considered like 5e adjacent or normal stuff, so... So right now I'm holding like 3 magical items on my character. Let's see here. Well, I'm attuned to 3 magical items. Arcane Grimoire, an all-purpose tool, and a Stone of Good Luck, a luck stone. Because my character's lucky, I thought the luck stone was an interesting character item. Oh, you noticed that too, Mondu? And it's making a lot of duplicates today. Look at this. Those two are identical. Right next to each other. The nerve. I picked up and watched little bits and pieces, but honestly, I haven't had time to watch much. To be honest, my life the last few weeks has been kind of crazy with work adjustments, changing my workflow, and also some family drama that kind of landed in my lap unexpectedly. So I just haven't been able to do everything in my free time that I'd enjoy to do. Like, for instance, there's this audiobook. I feel like I'm in the last 2 chapters and I can never get a chance to finish it. The only time I get to listen to it when I'm driving in the car to pick up groceries. I need to organize my day-to-day work schedule a little bit more now that we've made these changes. Just have more time to work on things and able to have some more time for my personal life as well. That's interesting, Guafa. That's really cool. How you doing today, Canary Riot? I don't have infusions yet as an artificer because I'm only L1 artificer. So I use that as part of my backstory because I came from a family of artificers. But I also was innately lucky and had kind of a knack for magic, more so than my family did. Like, I enjoy tinkering and stuff, but I feel like I'm my character's destined for greatness, right? He wanted to move out of the small town, go on adventures, meet interesting people, and also, get a name for himself. Make a lot of gold and become a powerful wizard. So lately I've been going through the Halo audiobooks. Like when I was younger, I bought and read a lot of the books, and then I gave them to my friends and family, loaned them out, lost a lot of them. They're just missing, and I don't want to repurchase them. But I have an Audible subscription, and I've been using that to kind of chew through each of the books. And it's been pretty nice so far to be able to reread them, or nowadays. I guess I'm not technically reading. How you doing, Anani? Have any of you seen Christmas Vacation? So, like when the Griswold family cousins show up just unannounced in their RV. Yes, National Lampoon. That's what I've been dealing with. Don't want to talk about it much more than that. But I've been helping a family member showed up unexpectedly. Condolences. Every time I see that, I hear someone say my condolences, I can't help but think of the I think you should leave skit. Basically, got a full house at the moment. When you're lost out there and you're all alone, the light is waiting to carry you home. Anywhere you look. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba-da. That song's been stuck in my head since the 90s, so you can join me in my torture. Hopefully we didn't get copyright struck for that 10-second sing song. Man, I haven't thought about family matters in a while. Didn't watch that one as much as I did Full House, mainly because it probably wasn't on the channels we had in our cable network at the time. Honestly, everyone loves Urkel though. Like Urkel was a sensation, right? Jaleel White, isn't that his name? I remember reading that he was supposed to be just like a minor kind of tertiary character, but he was so well liked by the audience, it ended up becoming like a main part of the show. Did he? Interesting. Good to know. In the first season, he was just kind of like a Kimmy Granger type character who's supposed to show up and annoy the family. Don't really know anything, like annoys the parents or whatever, you know. And then, yeah, Urkel was so well loved that like it became like its own thing. Didn't know they had any problems like that, Volkahar. Like, was there, like, I'm assuming, you know, I know I remember reading they recast the mom because she was like outspoken and they didn't really like want the drama or something. I don't know, but I don't know what she was outspoken about. Probably the right things, you know. Usually they don't like it when actors are a mouthpiece to, you know, protest or whatever, any number of things. I don't know the whole story though. I'm just speculating. The little sister everyone forgot. Funny, funny. When shows break their own canon or like forget things, it's kind of sad but also funny. Deciding if I pathway. None of these shapes will work. Recasting in Power Rangers, they at least explained it, you know, it's like a new Ranger, right? Yeah, I'm not liking it. I'll leave it how it was. I'll just put the path on this side and we'll gate it off. Maybe put a little pizza pond here. Alrighty, let me save because I haven't saved in a hot minute. Don't want to play it fast and loose with my maps. You know, I've read through some Kobold Press stuff. It's interesting. I've noticed some of the spells they often offer in their books are kind of imbalanced, but that's kind of the nature of that kind of stuff. Overall, though, what I've read and seen is pretty interesting, fun supplemental stuff. What are your thoughts on it, Polaris? I mean, I think I'm going a lot faster today. It was nice to get a little break. And I've also made kind of a strategy to finish it off in between if I have time. Like if I have a moment, I'm going to work on it in my downtime to try and extend it out and just get as much of it done in between Monday sessions. I'd say overall, though, my pace this week is definitely quickened or improved. Arp. Arp. Recap the recap. Oh. So, our session started a little late because one of our players was running a little late. Had some traffic issues. So we kind of stalled and we were just hanging out. But all of our players were back together for the first time yesterday in 2 months because we'd been missing one of our players due to, you know, personal hardship and other stuff going on that was brought onto them by their roommates, nothing they really did. So we were happy to have them back at the table and to play as a group again. The session began with us going right into initiative because we had ended our last session encountering a vampire in a room that we had used Nolzur's marvelous pigments to make a peephole to like look into the room and see who was in there before we moved on. I call it Nolzur's marvelous peephole. Because we just make a little teeny hole in the wall and then we could see through what's in there. and get an idea of what's on the other side or here or, you know, whatever. We talked to the vampire last session and realized he wasn't going to negotiate really, but he didn't want to fight because it irritates him to die, and he knows he would die fighting us. So we essentially came to an agreement this session that he would allow us through to the next section of the dungeon to meet his master. He'd introduce us, and which would, you know, his master wouldn't be on guard and would be more likely to chat with us. His master is Carthax, an Illithid that runs and created the dungeon or whatever. You know, created the dungeon and filled it with constructs and all sorts of beasts. So we essentially, this vampire was being shady and really awkward, and he's trying to like lure us into his room, which I felt had traps in it. So I was trying to convince my party not to do this. But one of our players, a fighter who's got the intelligence of a peanut, was like, you know, guys, I think he's nice and I think he's, you know, being genuine. We should go in and talk to him. So he went in and like sat down next to the vampire on a couch, chatted for a bit, and then he gave him the key willingly. And the vampire didn't use any charm spells on him, but he definitely was charismatic in a way that the fighter felt compelled pretty much to like almost listen to him and do what he wanted, but at the same time knew that he wasn't necessarily under his influence fully. He was able to leave the room, give us the key. And then he offered to introduce us to his, you know, boss, which would put his guard down and make him less, you know, anxious or wanting to kill us. So essentially the goes to the door, knocks, lets the boss know it's us. We open the door, and then he retreats back to his room. After he went back into his room, I put an all-purpose rod on his door just to make sure he stayed there. Because I didn't want him coming up behind us while we were fighting. And then we went in and started talking to Carthax. We let our like lead, who is our you know, charisma guy, kind of take the front and chat with them, and we all bowed and we're like, just very gracious. And obviously he was entertained by us because of how far we'd gotten into his dungeon. And then he said, and we told him what we were after, a certain item called the Black Sigil, and he said that he would give it to us if we completed 2 tasks. There was his dead grandfather, who was now, you know, like basically a Lichithid or an Alhoon, in one of these sarcophaguses, and he wanted us to kill him so he wouldn't commit patricide. Awkward. And he's surrounded by like 6 intellect devourers, so it's like kind of a crazy fight. He says, if you can fight him without damaging me, you can then take the item in his casket and move to the next room. We're like, okay. So we did that fight. We opened up pretty strong. I did a spray of cards which blinded him for basically 2 rounds because he started the round kind of in the beginning of it. So we essentially blinded him right out the gate, and we're just unleashing on him because all of us had advantage on him. And after that first round, he was down to like 1/3 of his health, basically. He unleashed a huge attack, which was like a big cone attack, but luckily it was psychic damage, didn't affect the people behind us, you know, his grandson and all the brain boys. And so we were lucky in that regard. That was the only attack that ended up getting over that way, and it luckily did not affect them because they were immune to psychic damage. We continued fighting the Alhoon and took him out pretty quick. Without too much damage to the party. Everyone kind of just took a potion or whatever, and we decided to move on to the next room after we recovered. It was like a crystal from his sarcophagus, and the crystal has like a spell in it that would disable the trap on the next door, which there was a disintegrate magic trap on the door that would essentially kill anyone who went up to try to open the door. It was designed to keep what was in there from getting out. So we're like, okay, we'll do this. And we open the door. and inside is a not a necrotic, like a dark drake, a shadow drake. And the shadow drake makes the whole room into magical darkness, so it's like really hard to see. Only one member in our party can see through magical darkness because our Sorlock has Devil's Sight, and this is like the first time it's really come in handy. And he was so happy to have it because he could continue seeing the target. He could hit him the whole time and kind of give us an idea of where it was. And at the same time, we had to strategize around this massive darkness that not only hurt you if you were in it, but every round, but also made it almost impossible to see him. So you were shooting with disadvantage. Alhoon. I think that's what they're called, right? Alhoon, Alhoon. So the door, we disabled the trap, opened it. Inside is the necrotic drake or the shadow drake, and he immediately just starts fighting us. And one of our players, the fighter, runs into the room, of course. He can't see, and he is in the dark, getting pummeled on by this drake who has multi-attack. And he like hit him like 3 times out the gate. We had to use a silvery barbs to protect him from getting downed. And what else happened? In that first round. And basically before our fighter went in there, I used a fireball to hit the guy, did a bunch of damage. He ran in, was fighting him, kind of person to person, tried to trip him, couldn't. The guy had like crazy strength and crazy constitution saves, so it was like really hard to get him to fail those saves. We learned though he had really bad wisdom and really bad dex saves, so we were quickly, using spells on him that would affect him in that regard. And before we knew it, his health was pretty low, but he also kind of ran and hid, and we couldn't find where he was. We shot a hypnotic pattern in the room, which hypnotized him and bought us time to regroup out of the room and like get out of the darkness, heal, and also wait for the darkness to subside and then attack him while he was still hypnotized for just a moment, which gave us another advantage on him. And then he was down to like maybe 20 HP in the next round. And if I'm not mistaken, one of our players hit him really hard with either a moonbeam or like a crit and put him down. Something like that. I can't remember the exact turn of events. But then this drake went down, arguably the first dragon we've encountered in our campaign of a year. Dallas, how you doing? Welcome to the stream. Well, as you could see here, we're actually building by hand a massive cemetery. This thing is huge, okay? Just to give you an idea of scale. And I've been building this for a while, about a half hour, an hour a week on stream every Monday. It just keeps going and going and going and going. But this map is 85 by 82. Now, you can make maps of all shapes and sizes with Dungeon Alchemist, but keep in mind the size and the complexity of a map is pretty much determined by your computer specs. So if you have a more powerful machine, then you can build larger, more intricately detailed and animated maps. If you have, like a basic laptop or an older computer, you may want to limit your map size to, say, 50 by 50 or under. Maps from Dungeon Alchemist can be exported in a variety of different ways for your preferred playstyle. Whether you want to print your map, you can print it locally, or you can take the digital file to a print shop to get it printed as like big posters for game night. You can export the map files digitally as a JPEG, a WebM, or MP4. The video files are for looped, like animated maps, or the still images are just a still image that you could use on like a projector tabletop or a TV tabletop if you play locally that way. Lastly, the maps can be exported for pretty much all major virtual tabletops, such as Foundry, Fantasy Grounds, Roll20, etc. To the major virtual tabletops that I just mentioned, our maps include a data file with them. So you get the map and a data file. The data file includes all the lighting, walls, windows, doors, etc. for line of sight information. So if you export to a virtual tabletop of choice, you get all that data as well. Well, at least the 3 major virtual. And beyond that, most virtual tabletops support, JPEG or MP4, etc. So our images work with them as well. Polaris, that is a good question. And I think the attention span of, nowadays is very divided with our digital devices that you can take with you everywhere, or video games that might be at your fingertips. Do you play in person or do you play online? Let's start with the basics here, because the more I can learn about your session, the more I can speculate or offer advice. Above VTT is also compatible with Dungeon Alchemist. We offer direct exports for them. And they're a great tool because it's free to use and also is directly integrated with D&D Beyond. You're playing in person. Do you do a TV tabletop or like a projector tabletop? Polaris, the demo is available on Steam, and it's kind of a small slice of the overall pie. You can build a small map in one of our 12 biomes. You get access to one of the room types and a certain subset of objects. So there's like 100 room types, thousands of objects, doors, windows, walls, floors, tokens, etc. That you have access into the full version. Plus, you get access to the repository of maps and 3D models shared by our community on Steam Workshop. There's almost 13,000 maps, 12,900 maps at your fingertips. So you could just go through and download a map if you don't want to build one, or download one and make subtle changes to it. Or if one's already made for a module you're running, you can download that, save yourself some time. The asset browser can expand your assets beyond the stock ones available and also go into certain aesthetics that we don't dip into currently, like sci-fi, cyberpunk, etc. So the demo gets a small slice of the overall pie. One biome, the forest biome, out of 12, and then you can build a tavern in the forest biome. So it's basically one kind of room types. This one, well, the handful of room types in there out of the dozens in the subsets available. So it is, limited in that regard, but it does give you a good idea of how well it'll run on your machine. The maps can be exported for print or for your virtual tabletop of choice. So you can, make a map and even use it. 13,000 maps. 13,000, not to be confused with 30,000, which sounds a lot alike. But that's still quite a bit of maps. And yeah, we actually, when we hit 9,000 maps, we did a over 9,000 map giveaway. It was pretty fun. Big fan of the meme and Dragon Ball in general. Your maps are over 9,000? They definitely are, Anani. 30K is on the way for sure with this community. They're so dedicated and they love sharing their maps. Speaking of which, if any of you have some maps that you've been working on that you haven't uploaded as of lately, let's do it. Let's try and push to 13K so we can get there before too long. Here, let me save and I'll show you what you can do, Techless, really quickly. So I'm going to generate like a forest really quickly. Yes, let's talk about that Polaris a little bit more. So first off, do you allow devices, phones, and stuff at the table? You don't necessarily need to outright cut these devices because I think a lot of teens feel tethered to them, young kids, but you need to set limits on when they can be used, if that's one thing that's happening. So if there are phones allowed at the table, tablets, laptops, you need to make sure that they're specifically used for the game and only during break times for personal stuff. That means not when it's not their turn in the turn order. That means when there's an actual break when everyone can get up. Oh, several hundred at least, Volkahar, probably at least 400 or 500. Gotcha. So they're not getting distracted by their phones. So what what exactly, where do you find that there is a distraction or a breakaway from your storytelling? Are combat encounters taking too long? Like, where are they getting bored and disconnecting? Let's talk about that a little. Marcelo, I mean, if it's on sale, by all means. We typically go on sale through all major Steam sales, but it's kind of hit or miss because we have to be invited by them or apply and they approve us. So it's not like we can pick and choose which sales we're in. That being said, if it is on sale, then by all means, snag it. Make sure you add it to your wish list now, though. That way, if it goes on sale later, you'll get alerted through Steam when it goes on sale. Okay, so we're in a forest map. I'm going to just generate a quick little cabin in the woods. I'm going to shape the cabin. We'll give it a kind of round corner over here. We just generated a quick little cabin in the woods. We've got a door right here. I'm not really happy with the door's placement. So I'm going to move the door over here in between these windows. And then I'm going to go regenerate the cabin by selecting the Edit Room tab and then regenerating it. Now it regenerates around the placement of the door. Notice the hearth is opposite of the door, making it more centered and makes sense. And the terrain outside is a little bit too high around the door, so I'm just going to flatten the terrain to the room height outside the door here using the terrain tools. Which the terrain tool is a little bit slow at the moment. I can increase the strength of it a little bit faster or the size of it to cover a vaster area if needed. Flatten it. Then lastly, I mean, when you're building buildings, you can make multi-level structures. Homes and structures are given a roof by default, but if you want more on top, you can draw a little structure on top or even a matching structure. Here, I'm going to just kind of keep that rounded thing there. And now we have a 2-level structure, easy peasy. If you want to, link these two together with like a staircase on the outside, like a mother-in-law apartment, or a stair inside, you can do that by selecting a staircase from the stair menu. There's quite a few options available. In the case of this one, it might be nice to do it outside, like an adjacent one. Right? But maybe we could find one that even has a little lip on it. That. But I'd like that it have rails, like handrails, right? We do something like this. We can add one more little section right here as just like a piece of floor. Add another little room there. Now it's all connected with a door on one side. We can even add another door here, so it's like a mud room. Flip the door around so it opens that way. If you run into an issue where the tools are freezing, usually it's best to kind of wait. Sometimes Dungeon Alchemists particularly will freeze if there's a lot of walls and you select the change all wall tool. So it's like freaking out trying to decide what to change. I tend to not use the paint all walls tool if there's lots and lots of buildings. I'll skip around it. Change wall or place new walls typically works just fine as long as you're on the correct level. So let's say I wanted to add like a small little latrine in this room. Pretty easy to add a room there. I'm going to move the trophy outside. But you get the idea. Pretty simple to add some walls in the space or even a separate room in the space. Placing individual wall segments. Deleting objects has kind of always been a thing a wall will do. But aside from that, it seems to be going in just fine and allowing you to place it. Breaks might be a good idea. Give the kids a chance to stretch, look at their phones so they're not distracted. The other thing too is how many encounters are you running per session? I think a lot of younger generations like combat. They like to be entertained constantly, either with RP or combat. So you need to kind of balance those two, give them something to do. If they're constantly traveling or in store shopping or, doing exposition, they're probably going to be bored unless they really enjoy RP. Huh. I'm not sure what issues you're having. Would you mind like maybe creating a video and sharing that in the Discord, Asgard? Because if you could share it, I could see it in action. It would make a lot more sense to me. Right now, I'm trying to replicate it and I'm not really seeing it. Oh, pretty much just in a dungeon. Okay. Do they get apt amount of, time for their character to prepare for other encounters like a long rest or short rest so they can recharge and they feel powerful and more abilities? If you can do that, man, I'd be so happy, especially watching the video, Asgard, because I understand what you're saying, but I would like to see it firsthand. It would be so beneficial to trying and troubleshooting it. Sorchin, love the software, use it a lot. Glad to hear it. Glad to hear it. Haven't you been here before? I was about to say welcome back. I recognize your name. I feel like you've been here before. Different type of roofs will be on the horizon, but probably not the next update. Giving you more control over roof shaping is definitely on the menu. But it'll be a bit. I feel like you've been here a few times, yeah. Hey, Polaris, sorry I didn't have much more advice, but I do love how all the DMs chimed in and offered some assistance. Hopefully any of those ideas will help you in, keeping your players more engaged. But yeah, I do like what Highland Lass says. She deals with a lot of teens that, runs games for them at the school, so are like in school clubs. And I think listening to her advice is a good idea too, because she does make a lot of dollars and cents there. Keeping them engaged with, constant dice rolls and combat encounters is a good idea. In my group, we make jokes kind of about things that are like pop culture references related to in-game play, right? My son got inspiration for making a pop culture reference in our game last night because he was the only person who could see in the darkness. And I think that's what he did. He killed the Drake, being able to see him in the darkness with like the final attack. And he pulled a Bane. He was like, "You merely adopted the dark. I was born in it, molded by it." And like the DM loved it. So basically he gave him inspiration. So I think it's based on the table. Like, let the kids joke around, have some fun. I don't think that necessarily pulls away from the game too much, because it lets them be themselves as they get used to playing. But at the same time, if it is big distracting, it pulls them away. They're constantly like wanting to discuss other topics besides the game, then maybe finding a good balance is a good idea. The other thing too, one thing I think helped my son get into D&D more was playing on a virtual tabletop. And I know that's not always viable for everyone, but theater of the mind can be very difficult for a new player. And if you only have playing with like a digital tabletop or a projector tabletop with animated maps is a good in between, because it's moving constantly and it feels like a video game to them, and it's much more immersive and like on their level. My son didn't care about D&D. All he cared about was like Fortnite and games like that. And we tried playing D&D in person a few times, didn't care for it. But then as soon as a virtual tabletop was involved and it had a video game like interface, it was a completely different ball game for him, because he could manage his inventory digitally and like all of his spells and attacks. And anyway, I think that helped a lot too for a younger generation who has a hard time focusing on things like that. Now he loves D&D and it's pretty much all he wants to play. Like, he still loves video games, but he prefers D&D. So I think we did something right there. I like video games though. Like, we're a gaming household. We game together, you know? Like, I game with my wife and my son pretty regularly when I have free time. But I love that we play D&D together because it's just such a fun. Hey, Smokey, how you doing? Welcome back. What you been up to? Digital tabletop definitely can make a lot of difference in gameplay. I have this motto: the family that that plays together slays together. So, like, honestly, we have really good cohesion in games and back each other up, and it's just a fun activity for us to do. As of right now, we're mainly sticking with 5e, mainly because that's what we know and have learned. I'm interested in Starfinder a bit and Pathfinder. I've heard good things about a few other systems, but at the same time, it's such a big commitment to learn a new system and dive into it, right? Not only, like, you know, reading all the books. For me, at least, when there's a manual, I read it. Like, if my DM's like, yeah, go over this source material and try and understand it, I'm like, I'm going to read it all. So that is a big commitment for me to learn a new system when it comes down to that kind of. I'm that weird player that loves to read the player's handbook, that actually looked over all of their character's skills. Nice, Asgard. What's your favorite system? Yeah, they stepped away for a bit. Highland Lass, they're like stepping away for about an hour, so they probably won't be back before the end of the stream, unfortunately. Or a quarter hour, they said. Alrighty, it looks like it's 10 past the hour, so it is time to wrap it up. Oh. Staying in Mexico right now, Smokey? That's cool. What are you doing in Mexico? You there for vacation? You on a cruise? You traveling? Like, working? What's going on? Running the Cypher system these days? Interesting. I've not heard of that. What kind of system is it? Looks like Anani uploaded his most recent map. Thank you so much. Sharing is caring, you know? Working on finding your new home country? Dang, dude, that's cool. Well, I wish you luck, my friend. That's probably quite an endeavor. Very cool. Sounds neat. Well, everyone, it looks like we got a good amount of graves in today. Added these rows all the way down to here, and these rows here, and the walkways, and the greenery, and we've got the next walkway set up. This is pretty much the end of the road here for these graves. I'm considering leaving some of this space empty because they would need more space to dig out future graves. We could even dig some pits, so they're like preparing them. Or maybe having some of the stonework laid out, but no graves. Only froze once. I hope it wasn't from me. I'm looking at my stream stuff and I have no alerts or drop frames for the entire stream. So I'm thinking whatever happened last time was definitely Twitch related, or internet related. But either way, I'm glad that we've moved past it. It's no longer an issue, and hopefully the future streams won't be another or any more problems. So Smokey the Fax says, working on finding our new home country. So he's just been, I'm assuming, traveling and looking around, visiting and seeing if it's a place you want to stay more long term, is I'm assuming what he's doing. You're a fan of Numenera, but the group you play with, not so much. Oh no. Hope your week is easy. You know what? I appreciate that y'all are such good, acquaintances and friends with each other, getting to know each other through the stream and becoming fast friends. It's almost like we've got our own party here, our own group that plays together. Well, we map together. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. I appreciate you all so very, very much. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and then we're going to wrap up the stream. Our next stream will be office hours Wednesday. Speaking of office hours, I may be removing it from the rotation. There's been discussions behind the scenes about adjusting the stream schedule or changing it, maybe removing one stream so I can put more focus in other places. So we'll see how it goes. I don't know. Its days may be numbered. So after, this next one, we'll see what happens. But if anything, hopefully Mapmaker Monday, Damn Challenge, Damn Stream will still stay around. I know I love office hours because it gave our Discord community a chance to tune into the stream if they're not a fond of, streaming platforms such as Twitch or, TikTok, whatever. But unfortunately, our kind of focus is shifting, and this isn't a bad thing, shifting as we transition towards the final phase of early access and are pushing towards, moving towards full release and then transitioning possibly to, offering supplemental tools to Dungeon Alchemist like a VTT Lite. I'm sorry, Highland Lass, that is a bummer. Feedback back like that might go a long way. Maybe we can collect some feedback from the community on our thoughts on cutting back the streams or changing their times or reducing the streams and see what maybe the devs might change their mind on it. But let's discuss that next stream if we can, because it's kind of wrapping up. It is kind of unique. It is a great way to provide real-time support based on tickets already there. But it is what it is. We'll see. Anyway, thank you everyone for being here. Appreciate you all so very, very much. Again, my name is Mac, the community manager for Dungeon Alchemist. We're going to run a quick Dungeon Alchemist themed ad, and then we're going to wrap up the stream. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you next time. I give a damn. Mac out. Bye. Let's do the curve one.
But can it handle curves?
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 Dungeon Alchemist, the AI-powered map-making application for role-playing games, now comes with both round and diagonal walls. Create amazing professional maps for your players in seconds. Get it now on the Steam store.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate you so very, very much. We'll see you Wednesday for office hours. We're back on Saturday for the damn challenge. Back out. Bye.